And good evening. This is Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host this week, David Kanyuk Jr. David done a fine job filling in last week.
Thank you, Frank.
My voice was a little bit shot last week. I had a flood in my kitchen. Woke up, guess it was...
And you caught a cold from standing in the flood water.
Yeah, well, there was a little bit of screaming, praying, singing, hollering. Having it out with God while I'm standing in 4 inches of water in my kitchen as I'm scooping water. Jesus loves me.
Yeah.
And I got to remind myself that Jesus loves me because I was getting just a little bit frustrated with the standing in cold water. So my voice was shot for a week. And I think it was a little bit of the combination of the cool water and
a lot of love that was coming out.
There was some love coming out. I will tell you, buddy. It was.
Well, I'm glad that you're feeling better. It's good to see you. Hopefully, I held down the forts.
Yeah. I listened to about a half hour of the show last night.
That's all I could stomach. I checked out after that.
You and your cohort seemed to do a fine job. So
Mike Nixon and Jason Rainwater were kind enough to come in. So.
May have you come in again in the future and
anytime.
Do another dance.
So what's dancing with you this week?
Well, been doing some radio this week. I'll be filling in for Mac on the radio next Friday.
Oh, okay. That's great.
I'm going to have the atheist Chris John Beck in. We've had some pretty good conversations. About every time he's been here, we usually talk about an hour after the show.
Ooh.
But if you'd like to join the show for with your question or comments, be sure and call. And you did make a mistake because we did drop the 800 number.
What?
What?
It was on the thing. It was on the thing right before we went on air.
So we just have the local.
This is our producer's fault. That's who it is.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Maddie.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you want to call, you have to join. You have to call us locally at 515-244-0077. Start the show out tonight with this little. I don't know if it's a.
I like to call them tidbits.
Yeah, a little tidbit here that I was reading. An atheist and a Christian are discussing morality. The Christian contends that all morals come from God. The atheist believes that morals come from custom and culture, and no one moral is superior to another. With that, the kindly Christian retorts to the atheist by saying, "Sir, in some cultures it's custom to love your neighbor. In others it's custom to eat them, all based on a moral code. Which do you prefer?" The moral of this story is that we are a moral being in a moral world created by a moral God, and as British philosopher W.K. Clifford says, it is immoral to hold any view, even a correct one, based on flimsy evidence. Well, please, can an atheist please tell me how chemical compounds can create morals and the ability to discern right and wrong? The Big Bang has no answer to this dilemma. Must be the same as the guy who faced a 30-man firing squad and all 30 men missed. Well, it happened because it had to have happened. So morals wrong happened because it had to. Well, now talk about flimsy evidence.
No, that's a great tidbit there. Yeah, I've heard the argument from various atheists in my life that no, it's a cultural thing. We don't kill people because it would not be culturally accepted. And I buy that to a point, but, like that little nugget of wisdom there says, in some cultures, it's moral to eat other people. In some cultures, horrible things like female circumcision are allowed and accepted parts of that culture. That doesn't mean that those things are right. So we do have to look to a higher source, which has handed down what actual right and wrong is. And I know that atheists don't want to admit that, but
well, you come down to this debate between moral relativity and somebody's value judgment. Well, if Johnny thinks 2 + 2 is 5, who are we to tell Johnny that Johnny's wrong? Because right and wrong is only what's in Johnny.
Right. Johnny has decided, and I guess that their view would be that it's not just up to the individual to decide what's right or wrong, but it's up to the community as collectivists to decide what is morally acceptable or not. So some of the things that they would decry as being horrible, other communities have accepted as perfectly acceptable. So shouldn't they have to declare that those things are indeed moral? Wouldn't cannibalism, as the example cites, wouldn't that have to be moral for them?
Well, in that society, that's perfectly acceptable according to their moral code.
Exactly. So I guess where is the line drawn? I mean...
Well, now, here's the second thing, and this is a tick longer, and I'll go through it kind of quick, but this is I got kind of spurred on this idea this week because I kind of have some concerns when alcoholism is called a disease or any kind of addictive behavior is called a disease.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Here's an idea. Go home today and tell your wife or husband, I love you, but I promise they won't remember anything you said before the word but. So in the law, there is extenuating circumstances that are pled when it involves murder. Extenuate means to lessen the circumstance for a crime. So when murder is less than murder, it becomes self-defense or manslaughter. So with temptation, temptation ceases to be temptation if temptation cannot be yielded to. So follow me here. If an excuse could be found for sin, then sin would cease to be sin. It would, by definition, have to be called something else, just as murder drops in degree due to extenuating circumstances. So Scripture says iniquity is a mystery, and Lucifer is the father of iniquity. But if Lucifer was somehow created to transgress in sin, then he would have an excuse by saying, well, you can't blame me, I was created that way. And this, friends, is not possible. Lucifer was perfect in all his ways. Let me scroll up here a little bit. Lucifer was perfect in all his ways until iniquity was found in his heart. Love is another example. If you qualify love with anything, it's not love. It may enter the realm of lust or infatuation, but it stops being love when you say but. So my issue with using the word disease to describe sin by choice, when one says disease, the word elicits a certain amount of pity. No one except the coldest of hearted folk wouldn't sympathize with sickness and disease, especially if the person who has it was born with it. So if I say, for example, I was born to gamble, this may have some truth to it, but I make a choice to walk in Prairie Meadows. So if a gay says he or she is born that way, like the gambleaholic, they are making a conscious choice to engage the sin. This is true of any sin. If you give an extenuation to sin, then it stops being sin, because one is saying they're not accountable or responsible for their choices. Don't believe me, then take the Bible at its word. When Adam was asked by God, what hath you done? Adam says, well, it's this woman you gave me. It's not my fault. Eve says, God said to Eve, what have you done? Eve says, well, the serpent told me to do it. Why did you put the serpent in the garden? Not my fault. And of course, God did not quiz the serpent, but he would have blamed Satan, and Satan would have said, well, don't look at me, God, you made me. So, to Satan, Satan would have blamed Satan, and Satan would have said, don't look at me, God, you made me. So, to my predestination friends, God is not the author or father of sin, but Lucifer is. And when you imply that the elect are chosen, then you must conclude the wicked are also chosen. Then that leaves no option but God created sin.
Mm-hmm. And the problem that I have with the whole predestination thing is that means God did choose part of the people to be sinful people and to not go to heaven. He basically chose some people to go to hell.
Okay. Well, we got a caller.
We've got a caller.
Got a caller, and we'll go to the phone here, Minnie, as soon as Maddie mans the phone. This is Tom. I assume you're from Des Moines?
No, Western Iowa.
Oh, Western Iowa. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Oh, I just good to talk to you, Frank. I just wanted to say that, that the only difference between homosexuals and other people is who they choose to have sex with. And yes, it is a choice, because we have a name for the only group on earth that has sex that they don't have a choice in. We call them rape victims.
Yeah. Well, Tom, let me ask you this. except for Jesus Christ, who was born 100% human and 100% divine, we all have propensities, slants, bends, proclivities towards sin that we're all born with. We're all born with the nature of sin. Mm-hmm. Now, I may be born, my grandfather was said to have liked carousing with women, alcohol, and horse racing. All three of those things I genetically like and have liked in my life. But I make a conscious choice when I walk in Prairie Meadows and slap down a couple of dollars for a horse to win, place, or show, correct?
Oh, of course.
So wouldn't you say that's the same thing with homosexual behavior? That we're all born with a slant, a bend, a propensity, but that does not mean we have to engage the behavior, correct?
Well, that's right. And you know what, unfortunately, what most of us, and I got to admit I'm guilty of this too sometimes, is pick and choose what we like. And you know, as heterosexuals, I got to admit I've laughed at TV shows where, you know, this couple ended up in bed together and it was all, you know, good-hearted fun. And at that time, you know, just kind of, well, you know, that stuff happens. You can kind of blow it off. But then, you know, I shouldn't have done that, and I admit now I shouldn't have done that. I'm trying not to do it, but I think that's you know, they say we're hypocrites, and well, yes, we are. We're not living up to what Jesus Christ said, although I'm trying. But you know, part of the reason the country's in the shape it's in is because we're not trying hard enough, and we're not speaking up when we see things that are wrong, because we think, well, gosh, if I point to what's wrong with them, they'll point to what's wrong with me, and I don't want people.
Well, it's you know, some preachers, it's a bottom line that they don't, you know, it's a cost benefit. You know, they're looking for their bottom line to get butts in the pews. They don't want to offend people, but let me ask you, Tom. The Zarneff brothers are in the news here because one of them is on trial. Let me ask you this, for example. If the Zarneffs or somebody like that, and I'm not picking on them in particular, but if they was to come to you and they was to say, hey, look, here's the day, the time, the method of our attack, and this is how we're going to carry it out, and every detail to it, a guy would tend to take notice, wouldn't you think? Now, we have a Russian-born gay activist named Masha, not Marcia, but Masha Geeson. And we also have a New York University professor, Judith Stacy, who are basically telling us what their agenda is. And the homosexual agenda is this, Tom. They say, Masha Geeson is quoted as saying, it is a lie to ourselves and a lie to others to tell anyone we are out to do anything except destroy traditional institution of a marriage. And basically, they want to replace it with any combination of people, including family members, any numbers of men, any numbers of women. I suppose animals could come into play. Whoever wants to get married enters into this agreement of marriage and exits out at will. This is their agenda, and they are bold enough to tell us what that agenda is. Why aren't we listening?
Well, why aren't we doing anything about it?
The preachers from the pulpit are spewing out candy-coated poison, lukewarm sermons, and you know what Christ says he's going to do with lukewarm.
Right, absolutely. But I mean, even as Christians, you know, that's currently I don't have a church because I can't find one that doesn't do that, that gives that candy-coated nonsense, you know, and, oh, Jesus just walked around. I love it when people say, well, what would Jesus do? I said, I got a better phrase. Remember what he did in the temple when he flipped over those things and drove people with a knotted cord? I don't believe in what would Jesus do. I say, who would Jesus whip?
Well, part of the problem has been the neutering of the churches through the 501c3 tax regulations. They are too afraid to get into anything that would be deemed as political, and they're too afraid to speak out on any of this stuff.
Right, and I'm telling you now, you know, in case nobody said it before, it's just a matter of time before the Pope changes his view on same-sex.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Tom, we're going to a break. Would you like to hang with us through the break? Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
Sure.
Okay. Well, this has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk, and our lovely producer, Maddie, producing. We will return after the break, and Tom will join us after the break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
The only way we come to know the Saviorship of Jesus Christ is by bowing and acknowledging that He is Lord and King over all the earth.
Jesus Christ died on a cross, paid the penalty for our sin, and by repenting of our sin and accepting Him by faith, what He did for us, we are forgiven.
Salvation is not a combination of faith and works. Salvation is by faith alone in God.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Boom, bang, bang. Lie down your day.
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. We're glad you rejoined us. And I'm here with my co-host David Kaniuk and Maddie producing. And before the break, we had Tom join us on the phone. Tom, you back with us?
I'm here.
You posted something, I think, if you're the person that's friended on Facebook here recently, you posted something on a thread that has been going on for quite a while. And David had something that I think relates to possibly what you posted, and David's going to...
Yeah, I'm not sure what you had posted, but I thought this tied in with the conversation here. This was in the Daily Mail just today. 3 gay men from Thailand have tied the knot in what is thought to be the world's first 3-way same-sex marriage. Happy newlyweds, Joke, really his name, Joke, Bell, and Art took the plunge on Valentine's Day after exchanging their vows in a fairy tale ceremony at their home in Uthai, Thani Province, Thailand. The 3 blushing grooms are thought to be the world's only wedded male threesome and have since become internet sensations after photos from their big day went viral. So there you have it. We're allowing pretty much anything now, apparently. And obviously this isn't in the U.S., but how long until we have this issue in the U.S.?
Well, we've already got a father marrying his daughter in New York.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
And they plan on having children.
Guess they'll come out pretty healthy. Well, Tom, I don't know how you feel, but I'm convicted that marriage is an institution. I had an argument with a pastor, actually, on View from a Pew, that said that marriage wasn't an institution and that God saves out of kindness. And basically says that the little text in the Bible where it says, go and sin no more, was actually, they don't know where that come from and who really put that in the Bible. But the idea is that God met people in their need. He lifted them up. He met them in their in their temporal needs, but he quickly pivoted and said, "Go and sin no more." So I believe that marriage and the Sabbath both were twin institutions that came out of Eden. Both were meant to be forever. Both were said, what God hath joined together, man and the Sabbath, man and woman, are not to be put asunder. And it basically tells me that there's supposed to be no redefinition of either marriage or the Sabbath. Now, we'll just focus here on marriage. Is this how you feel, that basically we're redefining the institution that God set up to be between one man and one woman? He did not bless polygamy in those days. Polygamy is something that people indulged in that was against God's will. There was men who were blessed that were polygamists. King David was a polygamist. Solomon was a polygamist. But God didn't ordain that to be the marriage. So we're in trouble when we start trying to redefine marriage again in 2015 and call it whatever, a father and daughter, 3 guys, 3 women, 3 men, 3 women, family members, etc. Are we headed down a slippery slope there's no return from?
Well, it's definitely a slippery slope. I don't know about no return. But have you noticed now not only are these licenses being issued, but you no longer have the right to say, "I'm sorry, Jesus Christ said marriage was one man and one woman. I cannot host your wedding." Mm-hmm. You don't have that right. You will be punished. They will take away everything you've worked for, and they've done it to florists in Washington. They did it to the people at the Gourds house. They cost them money, and they had to agree not to have any more weddings for anybody. Oh, that's fair.
Well, they're going after cake makers, photographers,
right.
Anybody who disagrees with them. It's a fascist movement, really.
Ministers are going to have to be forced to marry them. Ministers are going to have to be forced to give them marriage counseling.
And don't believe the lie that it's because they're discriminating. Those bakers, those florists provided flowers and baked goods for every other occasion for these people. Never did they ask, who do you sleep with? And never would they dream of showing up at their wedding to interrupt the ceremony. They simply said, "I don't want to participate."
They precisely went after these people, didn't they?
Of course. They got it. See, that's the thing. They don't want, they said with this movement started, "We want you to allow this." No, we want you to approve of this. Mm-hmm. And if you don't approve, we're coming after you, because you're the person who has caused all our problems in our life. Those people who don't approve, all our life would be good. Somehow those people invented these diseases that are prevalent amongst homosexuals. Somehow they did. I don't know how, but they must have, because it's their fault.
Well, Tom, where this is headed is eventually, and I think we're seeing it now, this is headed for hate speech followed by hate crime, for pastors to get up on the pulpit and hold up the institution of marriage. They don't even have to slam homosexuality. All they have to do is just say marriage is an institution between man and woman, and that's going to be considered hate speech with hate crime punishment to follow.
Right. I was at a meeting with our local, just our state house and state senate representatives, just a community meeting, and everybody talked about the fact that they're not allowing us to buy more bullets, and the gas tax and the school tax and stuff like this. And I'm thinking, the guy who said, "I'm mad because they don't want us to buy, they're trying to stop us from buying bullets," he was much closer, I believe, probably in most all likelihood, to meeting Jesus and me, because he's like 40 years older. But I'm thinking, is that what you're going to tell Jesus? Yeah, I let all these terrible things happen, and people couldn't stand up for your word. But boy, I fought to get more bullets so I could stay alive longer.
David, did you have a story on the bullet situation this week?
I didn't have anything this week, actually.
Well, I would mention that Chris Rock, the contemporary comedian, was jesting probably 3 years ago that we didn't need to eliminate guns in the country. We just needed to make bullets cost $5,000 a piece to try to price people out of ammunition. So it just looks like to me, Tom, that Obama, the liberals, are just trampling on the Constitution any way they can possibly trample on it.
That's right.
It's all about total mental, physical, and spiritual control, really, is what is coming out of the Obama administration, coming out of Washington at large. right now.
So, Tom, it sounds like you're pretty passionate about this topic, because if you're the one on the thread that I've been following, it's been going on for about a week.
Well, I'd say every Christian should be concerned when a Christian can't follow his faith in his business. That should concern every Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lay down for it now, boy, it's only going to get worse. And I mean, I was reading a story. This Planet Fitness in Michigan. It's a fitness center. A woman came running out of the ladies' locker room and said, "There's a man in there," and she was right. There was a man in there. Well, guess what? He didn't lose his membership. She lost hers for being judgmental, because that dude identifies as a woman on the inside. But this is the natural extension of the idea that it doesn't matter if you're male or female, or if two women raising a child is just as good as one of each. No, it's not. There's differences. You get, unless you hated your mother or your father, in no way can you think it's equal to do that, you know?
Well, Tom, here's the bottom line on the homosexual argument to me, and this is just my personal feelings and my personal belief. If we all sin and we've all come short of God's glory, giving into the temptation of gambling, homosexuality, drugs, alcohol, whatever the temptation is, giving into it, that sin is the same, succumbing to temptation. But the bottom line is, Tom, in my book, how's the homosexual supposed to know he's in need of repentance, in need of a Savior, in need of salvation, if we're not allowed to say homosexuality or homosexual marriage is wrong and is a sin?
Well, that's it. The government wants to tell you what's right and what's wrong. They don't care. They don't want God to tell you. They don't want the Bible to tell you. They will tell you. And what they'll tell you is anybody who tries to tell you that they're right and wrong based on the Bible is wrong.
They are setting
They're evil. They're intolerant.
Yeah, I was just going to say they're removing God from the equation so they can set everybody up for worship of the Antichrist.
Right.
Which I believe is coming very shortly. And to get to your point where you were talking about, the businesses not being allowed to have their faith, practice their faith in business. Back in July, Chuck Schumer said that people with religious beliefs, and he was talking about the Obamacare contraception mandate, but he was saying that people with religious beliefs should maybe not even form a corporation. He said, "You're born with a religion or you adopt a religion. You have to obey the precepts of that religion, and the government gives you a wide penumbra. You don't have to form a corporation," Schumer said. So he's basically saying if you're religious, don't have a business. And for somebody who is
don't live,
right. And it's just remarkable that this is coming out of a person of Jewish faith, out of his mouth, to say that the state should be the absolute regulators of business, and if you're religious, you shouldn't be able to practice a business. That just blows my mind.
Right. Well, did you hear when Obama tries to say the Bible supports him whenever it's something he wants? Like,
sure.
He talked about, I believe in being my brother's keeper. Well, if that guy had actually read the Bible, he'd find out he's quoting the world's first murderer.
Well, here's the really silly one, Tom. You remember when Obama and Elizabeth Warren come up with the suggestion that you didn't build that? In essence, they were trying to tell you that you built your business on the backs of somebody else's money that built the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So you owe us, the government, money because you're a success.
Yeah, well, our tax dollars funded that infrastructure.
Okay, Tom, take that one step farther. When we're asked by God to return a 10% tithe, because He give us the planet, He give us the resources. You don't hear Obama up there advocating for the churches and to come to church and pay your 10% tithe that you owe God.
Well, of course not. Well, if he stood up if he actually read the Bible, Jesus said marriage was one man and one woman. How can I support same-sex marriage? Well, I can't.
Well, Tom, I don't know about you, but I think he's a closet Muslim terrorist sympathizer at best. And I don't care how many drone strikes he drops on, the Muslim community. I think the guy sympathizes with the terrorist movement. And he's just doing everything he can to be politically correct to the terrorists, And every time he has a chance, he gives a backhand swat to the Christians.
Well, his brother is the money man for the Muslim Brotherhood. Everything you need to know about Barack Obama, his religious affiliations, can be told about his reactions with what happened in Egypt over the past few years. We funded this color revolution to oust Hosni Mubarak, who is not a great guy, but he was a U.S. propped strong man. He was a moderate, I guess, if you can consider him a moderate.
Better to dance with the devil you know than dance with the devil you don't know.
Right, but here's the thing: we funded the operation to get him removed from power. We put in the Muslim Brotherhood and this crackpot Morsi, and the Obama administration was all beside themselves with joy. This is a great day for democracy in Egypt. The people have spoken. They've ousted this dictator. We have this new person in. And then a year later, after conditions in Egypt had deteriorated to such a degree, it was just utter chaos. So the people rose up in Egypt. And on July 4th, 2013, the largest political protest in human history occurred in Cairo. And they removed Morsi. They kicked out the Muslim Brotherhood. They removed Morsi. And the Obama administration said nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Wait a minute, things were intolerable and the people rose up and put a stop to it? Boy, I like that idea.
Right. But if you try that in the U.S., you're a crackpot.
Hey, Tom,
Hey, we did before.
We're getting ready to go to a break. You want to stay with us after the break, or have you had your say?
Well, no, I'll stay on. No, I better let somebody else have
No, well, you're fine. Hang with us, and we'll be back after the break. This has been Frankly Speaking, and we'll return.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, You come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. This is your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk, and the lovely Maddie producing. We have Tom on the line, and we're going to bring him back on. Tom, you with us?
I am.
David had a story about the presidential candidate. In the interest of disclosure, I will mention that I was raised and pretty much adhere to the doctrine of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And to my knowledge, Ben Carson is a Seventh-day Adventist. I don't know if he's made that public or not. But I don't know that Ben is presidential material. He could be a pretty good number 2 pick for VP. But David's got a story that says he may have backpedaled on this homosexual agenda. And Dave?
Yeah, there was a little bit of controversy this week over statements that he had made in an interview regarding homosexual issues. Retired neurosurgeon Ben Carson apologized for commenting Wednesday that prisoners' changes after they leave jail proves being gay is a choice. So he was saying that the prisoners that in jail, basically, they choose to be gay.
Well, if they don't go in gay, they come out gay.
Right. That's basically what he said. But said that that science is still murky on the issue. And then in a radio appearance later Wednesday, he criticized CNN for airing the comments he'd made in an interview and said he won't be addressing gay rights issues for the duration of his presidential campaign. Carson had asserted Wednesday morning on CNN's New Day that homosexuality is a choice because people go into prison straight, and when they come out, they're gay. He backtracked in a statement afterwards, saying he realized that my choice of language does not fully reflect my heart on gay issues. He said, I do not pretend to know how every individual came to their sexual orientation. I regret that my words to express that concept were hurtful and divisive. For that, I apologize unreservedly to all that were offended, he added. So basically saying what Frank has been saying here, that it's not a choice, or that it's not a something that you're born with, it's a choice, and then having to backpedal later on during the day.
Well, Tom, the question I guess would be to you, is the PC police running amok?
I'm not sure how to.
Well, if they got Ben Carson to back down because we don't want to offend the homosexual community, is politically correct speech alive and well in this country?
Well, PC has always been going amok for quite some time. I mean, I read Tammy Bruce's book called The New Thought Police. Based on that term came from George Orwell's novel. and she had a story, a chapter called "The Story of Richard," and this was a true story, and it was about a guy who worked his way up through the company by taking on tough projects, and he worked really, really hard, and he inspired other people to work hard, and he was a big success, and he was a junior vice president. Well, they had another gal who they brought in to be a junior vice president that nobody liked. Most people referred to her as, we'll say, the B word, right?
Sure.
And they asked Richard if he could give her some guidance because, like I said, this was a true story. Give her some guidance because they invested money in her and they didn't want to see her fail and they didn't want to have to fire her. So Richard brought her into his office and he talked to her and here's what he said to her. He said, "And you could be a little nicer." She walked out of the room, went straight to the president of the company and said, "He asked me to have sex with him." Now they all agreed that what he said was, "You could be a little nicer." That wasn't the crime. It's what he was thinking.
She was implying that she could be a little nicer to him. Was her?
Yeah.
She said what he meant was, "You should have sex with me now." Yeah. And he said, "No, what I meant was she's, doesn't treat people nice. She should be nicer to people and she'll get more productivity out of them at the workplace." Now, again, in interest of disclosure, I believe Tammy Bruce is lesbian. She is.
And she's telling this story.
Right.
So she's even though she's a homosexual, she's showing and telling of the hypocrisy of the politically correct police movement in this country.
Right. Right, and she's got other examples. She was on the board of Los Angeles Board of National Organization for Women, and when they started going far left too, they were embracing S&M behavior. And she said, "Now wait a minute, that's anybody who wants to be whipped has got something wrong with them." And boy, they jumped on her. "How dare you make judgments about what they want to do in bed? You can't be judgmental. We thought you were one of us, blah, blah, blah." Just because she said, "Wait a minute, that's ridiculous to say there's not something wrong with somebody who wants to be whipped." Well, isn't that a psychological disorder?
Yeah, maybe. Hey, Tom, we're going to switch up here a little bit, and we're going to start talking about, if you want to hang on with us, or you can go if you want, we're going to talk here a little bit about Hillary Clinton and her email scandals. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to chime in on that?
I've got bigger fish to fry, but thanks, Frank. I appreciate it.
Hey, glad you joined us this week, and give us a call again in the future.
Will do, Frank.
All right.
Bye.
We got bigger fish to fry. That's exactly what John Kerry kind of said about when he was pressed about the email scandal.
Yeah. Well, as I was talking to you on the phone last night and just discussing a little bit of the few topics that we had talked about, I actually I was trying to YouTube search it, and I was looking for Lawrence O'Donnell and the last word, Jennifer Granholm's visit on there the other night. Mm-hmm. Lawrence O'Donnell would actually pass for a journalist the other night. He was actually hammering Jennifer Granholm, the ex-governor of Michigan, for defending Hillary in this email scandal that, basically they're using the excuse, well, somebody else done it before me. Well, the law's been changed and et cetera. So,
well, it's funny. Once in a while, they'll remember how to be a real journalist.
Well, I guess it made the New York Times, and they're starting to turn the firing squad on Hillary from the left. So I'm just wondering if this, if they're just these scandals are feeding into the old narrative that, it's if you get the Clintons, it's just more Clinton scandals on a daily basis.
Well, you're going to have Hillary's email thing. Plus, Bill's got that pedophile thing going on. The underage sex ring that broke in Britain, I believe. One of the I can't remember who it was now.
Well, wasn't it one of the boys of Anne and Diane and
No, it wasn't one of them. It'll come to me later. But basically, there's this whole ring that broke in Great Britain.
Well, I thought it was Prince William or one of those guys. It was
it wasn't. It was a prince, but I think it was like Prince Andrew or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, okay. So here's the basic.
It wasn't William or Harry. I know that.
Okay. Here's the basic problem. She knew clearly the rules going in to be Secretary of State.
Sure.
And with exact opposite intention, this email site, the server, was set up on behalf of her to avoid having her emails be requested by FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act.
Right, right.
Okay, now they've said in her defense, well, she gave 55,000 pages or 55,000 emails. Well, what if there's 150,000?
Yeah.
And what if they just happen to ixnay the 3,000 hottest of those emails, which may have included information going back and forth about the Benghazi attack?
Right, which some of them did, and they actually implicated the Saudis, I believe, as the financiers behind the attack. The thing that gets the thing that really gulls me about this whole thing is how these are the same people who tell us that, well, the NSA should be allowed to spy on everything that you do. Your life should be an open book. We should be able to look through anything that you're doing, and if you don't have anything, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you don't have anything to hide. Yeah, these are the same people who take extraordinary measures to hide what they're doing by setting up a server like this.
Well, and then Hillary was caught on tape bashing the Bush administration for their secret wiretaps and their spying and their this and their that and their secret email accounts, and then she goes right out and does exactly opposite of what she's condemning someone else for doing. But that was in 2007, before obviously she would have known that she was thinking she was going to be president, and instead she got to be Secretary of State. But
well, this was all found out by a Romanian hacker who went by the name of Guccifer, who hacked into a number of different high-profile accounts. So this has been leaked for a while. I don't know why it's just coming to light now. I guess, is the Democratic establishment now trying to turn on Hillary?
It seems like it, because most of the firing squad seems to be of a circular nature, and it seems to be coming from her.
I can't imagine that she's going to go down for this, though. I mean, she's not. And that's the sad truth of the matter, but she's just not going to go down.
Unless they think Obama has picked his little mini-me, and they're setting up the mini-me.
But who's the mini-me? I mean, Elizabeth Warren, please.
Well, they according to Ed Klein's book, I think somebody was saying that he's out to select his own predecessor.
Well, I mean, that's understandable, but I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there who they can really go get at this point.
Well, this has been Frankly Speaking Live, and I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kaniuk, and Maddie producing, and we will return after the break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit, you're our hero!
And we're back with Frankly Speaking Live. I'm your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my co-host, David Kanyuk, and Maddie producing. And I guess I would say I didn't hear the complete story this week, but I'm of the understanding, maybe I can do a little research on it here in the upcoming shows, but apparently the person who awarded Obama, or the president of the Nobel Peace Prize Association, was canned.
Yeah. I saw I think I saw the headline on that, but I haven't read the actual story.
I haven't got to read the actual story. But you have anything interesting you want to share with us this week?
Well, let's see here. Continuing on with the Obama power grab theme. Let's see. There are a couple of different things. There was a kind of a trial balloon. Josh Earnest threw out at a press conference, saying that Obama would be interested in using executive action to raise taxes. The White House press secretary Josh Earnest confirmed Monday that President Obama is, quote, very interested in the idea of raising taxes through unilateral executive action. He said the president certainly has not indicated any reticence in using his executive authority to try and advance an agenda that benefits middle-class Americans. He said in a response to questions about Senator Bernie Sanders calling on Obama to raise more than $100 billion in taxes through IRS executive action. Now, I don't want to leave you with the impression that there is some imminent announcement. There is not, at least not that I know of, Ernst continued. But the president has asked his team to examine the array of executive authorities that are available to him to try to make progress on his goals. So I am not in a position to talk in any detail at this point, but the president is very interested in this avenue generally. So he's basically, that's kind of preparation. Hey, guess what? We're going to do this. And, you know, all the apologists are going to be out there saying, well, he's got every right to raise taxes without Congress's approval or anything. Didn't we fight a war about taxation without representation, if I recall?
Yeah. Well, here's the basic 5 duties and responsibilities of the Congress. They're supposed to have the power to declare war. They're supposed to make law. They're supposed to be in charge of trade regulation. They're supposed to coin money. And they're supposed to raise revenue. I don't see anywhere where it says the president has the ability or the right to either coin money or raise revenue. Now, Obama here, some of his minions last year was talking about him coining a $1 billion coin, sorry. $1 trillion coin.
Right, I remember that.
I'm even wrong again, 3 times. $1 trillion coin. So it looks like Obama just needs to forget the phone and the pen and take a bullhorn to the balcony.
Well, that's really what it's coming to.
We're a banana republic.
So we are, actually. And that's not just rhetoric. I mean, when you have somebody who says, I have a pen, I have a phone, I'm going to tell you what to do. What is he doing? He's dictating orders. That makes him, by definition, if you're the one dictating the orders, that makes you the dictator. You know? So I guess where does it stop? The authority that he claims that he has. Where does it end?
Well, how do you have the right under the Second Amendment to go after ammunition by executive order?
Sure, you don't. You don't at all.
I mean, how do you restrict M15 ammunition to people who have a right, a right guaranteed in the Constitution? Abortion, the word abortion is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. That right was cut out of whole cloth. But we have the Second Amendment that said we have an unfettered right to own and bear arms.
I'm telling you, man, they don't want any type of resistance whatsoever. They are planning something. And Wayne Carter is in the booth with our producer Maddie. He's coming up here next, continuing his series on Romans here. But he made a comment during the break that Obama's not leaving, and I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think Obama is leaving. Everything that has been set up in this country over the past 8 to 10 years, everything that has been set up as an occupying force. And so I think that there is going to be some crisis either late this year or early next year that's going to allow them to say, you know what, this is too great of a crisis. We have to suspend elections until the crisis is abated. And of course, the crisis will never end. So we're going to have this this guy in perpetuity. Thank you.
In perpetuity.
Someone had texted me on my text line that they're trying to clear Hillary because she's got too much baggage, trying to clear the way for Elizabeth Warren. That sounds great in theory. I don't buy that personally. I don't think Elizabeth Warren could win an election.
I don't know either, but I think they're trying to clear the deck for someone.
Right. As much as I hate Jeb Bush, and I wouldn't vote for Jeb Bush if you paid me to, can you imagine in a debate Jeb Bush versus Elizabeth Warren? I'm sorry. It's just, she's not going to win. That's...
Yeah, well,
let's be real here.
Elizabeth Warren is about as left as they get, and she, of course, is the one that suggested that. You didn't build that yourself.
She goes around saying that we need to have greater bank regulation. We need to rein in out of control banks, and I agree with that. But then this is the same person who says that we shouldn't audit the Federal Reserve, which is the largest private bank in the world. So, isn't that hypocritical? I mean. It shows you who's really slipping it in her pocket. It wouldn't hurt me if every department of government was subject to a legitimate audit. Well, here's something. Lord Rothschild was out there this week in the news saying that we're in the gravest economic time since before World War II. We're on the precipice of disaster, basically. Ben Bernanke, the former Federal Reserve chairman, was out in the news this week advocating that the president should be able to declare economic emergencies. So basically suspend everything in case there's an economic emergency. He said it might make sense to give the president some ability to declare emergencies or take extraordinary actions and not put all that on the Fed, Bernanke said at a conference. The Constitution gives the president significant flexibility to respond to military situations, in part because they are chaotic, he noted. He said, I'm sure it is not politically possible, but it would be worth thinking about, the former Fed chairman said. So it kind of gives you indication as to what is coming around the corner.
Well, as much as I'd like to blame Obama for everything, you can't necessarily blame Obama when the Congress basically gives away their authority.
Right.
When they hand over their authority to declare war, when they hand over their authority to the judicial branch to make law, when they give basically trade regulations to the president.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the question
is... And now Obama wants to raise revenue and coin money. What do we need him for?
That's just it. Congress in the future is just going to be declared... Congress is by default now just ceremonial. They have abdicated their responsibilities. And the last few ones that are left are being squashed out. And this is where it goes back into what I talk about the false left-right paradigm. But, in reality, behind the scenes, they're both holding hands. Because why wouldn't, if we have a real opposition that controls the House and the Senate now, why wouldn't they be standing up and fighting? Why is Boehner caving into amnesty? Why aren't they screaming at the top of their lungs, you'll raise taxes by executive action over our dead bodies?
Well, I voted for a Republican majority to go in and stop Obama, and it doesn't seem like they have the fortitude or the testicular fortitude to do so far.
And I'm not trying to open up a can of worms or be contentious at this point, but all I'm saying is you got to start asking yourself those tough questions at this point. Why? If they don't have the testicular fortitude, why?
Pat Buchanan said it right, that they're too worried about the ballot box. They're too worried about their constituency and getting voted back into office. And they've just gave away their authority because they just want an office.
Well,
being in office is...
We've slipped to the point now where we're not going to have a ballot box, I think, in the very, very near future.
Well, thank you for joining us this week, and this has been Frankly Speaking Live with your host, Frank Holzhauser, and my cantankerous co-host, David Knut. No, he was actually nice this week. I was nice, too, so... but thanks for joining us, and Maddie producing, so we will see you again in the weeks to come.
Stay tuned for Wayne Carter.